And a very good evening, everyone. Welcome into your box seat, brought to you in association with Woodland Stud. Michael Guerin away this week, but Matthew Cross has joined us in the house. Thanks for coming up, Matt, and looking forward to having a chat about all things harness racing.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. Hi to you and hi to everybody at home. MG's away, so I'll step in and do my best for you over the next hour. Gee, wasn't it a nice weekend of racing? Addington Raceway on Friday night was brilliant. Oscar Bonavina Sunday's son, which we're going to talk about during the show. Spankham racing on Sunday at Timaru was very good as well, and it's all building up and starting to make play for the New Zealand Cup Carnival, which is, what, 5 weeks away? Yeah,
less than that now. Matt, before we get on to the show tonight, how's the role going? You've been in the chair, if you like, for the last 4 or 5 weeks. How's it all panning out?
I suppose the main thing that I had in my favour going into it was the tutelage from Mark and yourself. So, I mean, in that aspect, it's been good. There's been some hiccups along the way. I've tried some new things and taken some risks which haven't worked in my favour on the odd occasion, but there's been a lot of good as well, and I've taken some confidence from that. So, yeah, with Cup Week, less than 5 weeks away, things are going pretty good.
Yeah, they certainly are doing well. Of course, last week, or you're doing well, on the show we had our Harness Racing New Zealand Awards, and here's some of the footage from it to remind you of what unfolded. A big night out for Woodland Stud. There's Michael Guerin, who, of course, emceed the night. Andrew Grierson there accepting awards. It could have been for Bettor's Delight. They won their share, didn't they? With Speeding Spur and the like picking up awards too. And obviously a big night out for Spankham. Pete Davis and Margot 9 got an award, as did Colin and Julie DeFilippi. So a really well-attended evening and a most enjoyable one.
Seeing that Sweet Lou's book is full and closed at Woodland Stud as well. A few left to go to Bettor's. So, look, they put so much money back into the game, as do Phil and Glenys Kennard there. I see they're sponsoring the show day Futurity once again this year. And just want to make a quick mention of them as well. They actually paid for a lot of the junior drivers and young horsemen to go to the Canterbury Combined dinner, which Robin and Gwen Dewar picked up an award for Spankham, and it was great to see them on track on Friday night celebrating the win with the Kennards. So, but there's a lot of people on the awards night who put a lot of money in, and they're getting a little bit back.
Yep, they certainly are. News-wise, there is plenty happening. Some new incentives coming out of Addington Raceway, one of which we'll talk about later on, being the Fast 10 concept and a new owner's pass, where basically if you go on course, we'll hear from Brian Thompson, you can get a drink just by racing a horse at Addington, not necessarily on that night. So that's a good incentive. The $100,000 Triple Crown, we'll have a chat about that as well. That's been put up by New Zealand Bloodstock across 3 mares races. New training partnership, Anthony Butt and Sonia Smith, they combine and they'll be training for Emilio and Mary Rosati, that post becoming available, and yeah, that's an exciting time for them.
Great move when Anthony Butt decided to move over. How many years ago would that have been? Four years ago?
Yep.
It's just sort of been a snowball effect for them, hasn't it? And between him and Sonia, they've had plenty of winners, and great. I think they might have picked their first winner up.
Yeah, Mr. Wickham won on Saturday night, first up since the Inter-Dominion, so that was a really good start for the stable.
A lot of big names all combining into one. That could be sort of a dangerous combo with some big winners coming out of there, no doubt.
Dexter Dunn, he just continues to drive winners.
Isn't he? He's driven the daughter...
Manchego?
Yeah, she's by Muscle Hill. So she went 149.1, which is just phenomenal. She was very, very good. I think they burnt 26 off the gate. He handed up, went back around and just kept running at the Red Mile. If you get the chance to go back and watch some of those races, they're just brilliant. Green Shoe as well. We've seen him, a son of Father Patrick, who's standing at Neville Stud. From all reports, they're looking well. Green Shoe was actually part of his first crop, and he is just a phenomenal racehorse. He's trotted some outstanding times, and his full brother went for 1.1 million at the sales at Lexington, I think it was, last week.
Talking of full brothers, we've got a pic of one, and this is Lazarus's full brother.
I see what you did there. That was a good segue.
Bettor's Delight, and out of Bethany, of course, thanks to Donna Williamson, who was part of the foaling of him. He's worth a few dollars. Art Standing, of course, is his brother as well, and he has got a decent sort of a motor for Nigel McGrath, $8 million, just over that in stakes for Dexter, by the way. Terra to Love, he has had a couple of winners, and they came back to back down there for Paul Court and Blair Orange. Yoha and Terra the Christian was successful, and that's a good start for a horse that, of course, we know so well, having won 3 New Zealand Cups and a multitude of other races.
I think this horse will get better as well, Terra the Christian. His first up run at Addington was in behind Lewis Litt and a delightful act. That form will stack up, and he just looks like he's going to be a horse that when they go a little bit harder, he looks like he can stay a wee bit. And as to the filly Yoha as well, it's gone quite nicely. So great to see him get on the board. Of course, he already had a winner in Australia with Millwood's, can't remember the last name of it, but Mark Jones and Aaron Goadsby trained it. But he'll do a job, Terra to Love. He's got enough mares and enough nice mares that he'll leave a few winners on the racetrack. And this horse, you know, he'll
and he's
fly the
stamping
flag.
them.
Yeah,
he is.
absolutely
They
he is.
very much look like him. A couple of early winners. Gemma Thornley, we get a chance to have a look at her first winning drive at some stage through the shows. And Chris Wilson, training with his father Ross, Robin's Playboy. So Chris has been sort of bubbling away there, helping him out anyway. And now they're in training partnership. So that is a good thing. A couple of obituaries in the last couple of weeks as well. Peter Burns, the first one we'll talk about, a huge contribution in terms of administration from Southland. Peter's involvement in the sport extended right through to Harness Race New Zealand at executive level. I had the opportunity to work alongside him when I was at HRNZ. Very professional. He was treasurer from 1997 through to about 2005-6, and he got the outstanding contribution to harness racing in 2006 as well. Morris Bailey, who trained somewhere near 50 winners. He trained Andrew Eyre, who won 14 races, including amongst his career, he finished third to the mighty Lyle Creek in a Dominion. So to the Bailey family, Tony Bailey, who used to have the hit disco at Addington Raceway for a long time, and Phil's been a long time supporter of the sport. So yeah, to the Bailey family, our thoughts are certainly with you. And Ali Malcolmson, who drove, would you believe, 399 winners. That was a bit unfortunate, but he was an outstanding horseman, trained over 300. He trained a horse called Vitaman, who was good enough to win a flying stakes, both as a 3-year-old at Addington and at Ashburton. And you won't forget his colours, nor his pink hat that he wore so many times around Forbury Park, where he had over 100 winners. Yeah,
he was a local down there, of course, and everyone's so well respected around there, and that they're almost like a family in those areas. You know, you come to Christchurch or Auckland, they're much bigger, sort of panned out areas, but there it's so dense. And yeah, I'd imagine that would have got to the Dunedin community a little bit, the racing community, with the passing of Ali Malcolmson. So our thoughts to everyone down there in the Malcolmson family.
Yeah, he got to 80 years of age. I think he trained his last winner like when he was 79. So Tomahawk Beach, where he was based, to the back end of his career. Right, time for us to get back into the road to the Trotting Cup, which is so very close now, and we need to go back to Addington Raceway from Friday night. This is the Canterbury Classic. First 3 home guarantee to start in it as they turn for home. Spankham sitting in the trail here was always going to be hard to beat. Classy Brigade set them up. For once we had a decent tempo here, Matthew. They went 3:11, just broke the race record, but outside the New Zealand record held by the fixer. Big late finish there from Henry Hubert, as was the case for Ashley Locas first up. Nice to see him back on the racetrack and looking pretty sharp. But Spankham shortened it to $2.30 now, Matthew.
That was his third up run, got a beautiful trip in transit. The big winners out of this were Henry Hubert, and I've got to say for the Gordons, they haven't had a great last couple of months, of course, losing Alta Maestro. If there's one set of owners that deserve their horse to be guaranteed to start in the Cup, it is the Gordons with Henry Hubert. And it didn't surprise me that he ran so well either. You go back and look at his 4-year-old form, and I think that the 4-year-old form last year and behind Turn It Up is going to really stack up. Here's the start of the race. Got some grave concerns around AG's White Sox in terms of what he's been doing at the start. But look, he was okay. Chase Auckland, Ultimate Sniper, both very average.
Yeah, well, certainly Chase Auckland. He's getting very wound up, isn't he? And Ultimate Sniper just rolled into a gallop there. He actually paced away and was just average after that, to be absolutely honest. He finished in 5th position. Chase Auckland, they both moved around, but at that speed, not surprisingly, weren't in the finish.
But AG's White Sox stepped with them, and he was just okay, I thought.
Well, I was prepared to give him a pass mark up until now because he had been missing away, but that wasn't the case this time.
Yeah.
So the Hope team have certainly got their work cut out with him. He currently is about, or he was $15 going into that race for the Cup. But there you go, Spankham's record was good. Look, he didn't run away and hide.
No.
Which part of me's thinking he's no Lazarus. He's not just going to line up and win the New Zealand Cup. But it's difficult at this stage to be suggesting that something's going to beat him. Something has to happen in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I think, Matthew, for certainly him not to start as favourite, but finding something to beat him is a challenge.
In terms of a lead-up run, though, for a horse that I know that Mark will be trying to keep relaxed and keep with him, I thought that was quite good. He's stepped and he's taken a trail and he's shown that turn of foot on what was a 56.2 last half. I think his turn of foot was good enough, and he'll improve off that run as well. We're still 4.5 weeks
it's
away
not his
from
grand
that cut.
final, is it?
Exactly. But the Classy Brigade, I just love how this horse is going. He might sort of be starting to hit his peak. We spoke about it on Friday night at Addington. Had Lazarus not been there, how good would this horse's record have been? It'd be phenomenal.
It would be.
But he's racing in career best form. Just hope that he can pace away, because he's the sort of horse, along with maybe San Carlo, who could come over and put some speed into the race. They could really light the cup up, those two.
All right, let's hear from the winning co-trainer and driver and those just in behind. Well, his modus basically has been to lead and run them into the deck, but tonight he sat in behind, and that's a good thing for him, isn't it?
Yeah, I think over the 2 miles that's probably where he's best placed him behind Greg, so it was nice to get that trip tonight. He's still on the way up, and I'll just wrap with him.
Yeah, just how much improvement do you think is in him at this stage of his campaign?
Look, I think he's probably about 90% of the way there, but I think he just needs to tighten up a little bit and be better for it.
All right, Ashburton next for him.
It will be, Greg, yes.
Okay, let's talk about a couple of your other runners. Ashley Lopez, outstanding. He's made his way late into 4th position, so campaign-wise for him, it got off on a good note.
Yes, I spoke to Blair and he was very happy with him, so I said to him he's not the worst, he's probably a little bit, flies under the radar a little bit, and I think he's come up really well, so...
Ultimate Sniper had to make a run around to get round to Park, and he's still learning it up in this grade, isn't he?
Yeah, probably just not mentally maybe ready for it, but we'll see how he handles his next couple of runs.
Well, you got your wish, you're in front.
Yeah, dead right, Greg, and we didn't run home 53 today either, so it was good, but just had the wrong horse on my back. My fella's still gone great. He never sort of dropped the bit with one outside me, so he told her that last 100 come to the end of it, but still wrapped.
Going forward, he'll go to Ashburton, is that the plan?
Yeah, well, he's sort of a good doing horse. He needs those hard runs, so he'll go there, and that might be it for him.
Yeah, the very pleasing part about him at the moment is his manners at the start. Stepping away quickly is putting him in the races, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. 2 starts back was just a bit of a miss. I don't know why he missed away, so didn't know what he was doing himself when he galloped, so that's normally his forte, so hopefully we can keep doing that.
Well, Tim, he was his own worst enemy again.
Yeah, that's right. He's let himself down twice now, and badly twice. So, back to the drawing board. He's first things first. He's got to get the start right.
So frustration there from Tim Williams, and now the roadshow. Well, some of them head, of course, to Methven, and we'll preview that race later on Sunday. But obviously Ashburton the following Monday is going to be a crucial race day for many.
And then we've still got Kaikoura and the Cup Trial. So there's plenty of options. It's sort of that race, the Canterbury Classic, where everyone sort of goes into it probably 3/4 ready, wondering where they're at. And then you've got options after that. If something goes wrong, you've got time to sort of patch things up. Just wonder where the fix is at in terms of...
Well, we'll find out on Sunday.
Is it too late?
No.
It's
no,
not?
I'd never say that about the All-Stars. There's no chance they'd put him in the race if they didn't believe. And he's the one horse that I think can threaten Spankham. I think he's a better stayer, and he proved that by winning the Cup last year. So he's the most important horse racing in New Zealand.
Well, what do you
this
do
week.
if you're Natalie Rasmussen then?
Well, he's off 30 metres, so he's got a bit of work to do. But we'll have a good chat about that race as the show goes on.
I'm asking you who you think she'll drive in the Cup.
I think if the fix is bang on, I believe she'll drive him.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I haven't got that
Very
from
cool.
her. Just before we go to Australia, because we need to have a look at a couple of their features, this stage, who's your number one selection in the Cup?
Spankham.
All right.
Yep. I'm going Spankham.
I'm not tipping against him, but I'm waiting to see the fixer.
Purely his professionalism, I think. His professionalism. And yeah, there might be question marks over him being able to see at the 3,200. Is that the question mark over can he stay, or we just haven't seen him have the opportunity to show us that he can stay? He's a brilliant horse.
He is.
But yeah, the fixers... I know you're a big fan of him.
Well, he's the horse that we need to find more out about. All right, let's go to Australia. The Kilmore Cup was run last week's show, of course, was on the awards. This horse here pulled his block off Sitting Park first up, and he just went terrific in a 58-mile rate. He's a previous winner of the Cranbourne Cup, the Yarra Valley Cup, and of course the Bendigo Cup. He paid the late payment to get in the New Zealand Cup of $4,000, and he'll add so much to not only the New Zealand Cup Carnival but the Inter-Dominion as well. And we've got Regan Cotter with us for the second part of the show to talk about that. But he's a fair dinkum racehorse. He's a $15 chance in the New Zealand Cup, and I'm looking forward to seeing him around the big track at Addington.
He's 9 now, 9-year-old son of Mark III. Of course, he won an Inter-Dominion heat beating home Soho, Tribeca and Lenny the Shark. So he's no slug. And I just love the way that, he got keen moving around to Parks, but he just kept trucking and he wanted to be there. You know, sometimes you'll see horses, there's a different type of keen. There's a mad keen and there's a sort of a, wait, let's do this keen. Like, he's more of a let's do this keen, and then he just keeps kicking at the 100 metres when he's not pulling anymore. He's a brilliant horse, San Carlo. I am really looking forward to seeing him at Addington, because if he turns up, we could be in for one heck of a race.
He's won 29 of 49 and $500 million, so we're looking forward to seeing him. Fourth in that race was Buster Brady, and he was a bit weird. He sort of dropped the bit and looked like he was out of it, and then he came again. Cash and Flow didn't drop the bit on Saturday night. This was a demolition job. He's turned up here and absolutely blitzed them. Buster Brady had to sit part, but when you hear the times, he rated 150.8, just outside the track record in the Smokin' Up Sprint, did Cash and Flow. And we've seen him here in New Zealand. He was a pretty handy 3-year-old, but he just destroyed this lot. That's Rapper's Delight, who's a genuine open class horse and hopefully coming to the Inters as well. And they've got the Victoria Cup this week, but look at this. He's just destroyed them in the hands of Luke McCarthy.
That was his third win on the bounce, I think, Luke, that night. He won with Cullenburn, who was successful for Ian Dobson, as well as Wrangler. So great to see Ian getting some success over there. All three of them led up and just left them to it. Gary and Kieran Woodham had a great weekend, of course, winning with Cash and Flow there, as well as Spankham taking out the Canterbury Classic and flying even better first up at Addington on Friday night. Wasn't the best of watches for punters. It was a winning watch, but look, the size stakes, the Macmillan Equine Feed size stakes favourite was very good.
Yeah, he was. That was his first win at Addington Raceway. Let's have a look at the New Zealand Cup market for you, though, as we're honing in on it. Into 2.30 now. I thought he might have got shorter than that, Spankham, because of his dominance, but no. The bookies are saying you can have $2.30. Ultimate Sniper, you can leave me out of that. He's not doing enough at this stage for him to be a $4.50 second favourite. It's a wee way to the Cup, but as Mark said in that interview, he's not quite racing like a mature open class horse at this stage. $6.50 the fixer. If he wins off 30 metres on Sunday, it is his first go on the grass at Methven, then that'll shorten. But I can see why he's sitting at that price now. Chase Auckland 11s. Ashley Lopez is shortened off the back of that fourth first up. Cruise Bromac was a winner as well on Saturday night in a lower class race. San Carlo at 15s. Classy Brigade sitting around that mark as well. The big drift there, as you alluded to, Matthew, is AG's White Sox. And of course, he's not going back to Methven where he had that problem last year.
Odd horse, isn't he? AG's White Sox. He's proved very hard to follow this time, and the best version of him, if he turns up, then he could be pretty potent. Can't really see anything on this page. Winning the New Zealand Cup, Hale Christian's best form obviously over in Sydney. Grand Chico's just come back. He was pretty good, I thought, to be fair to him on Friday night. That was a good run, because he had to do a little bit of work.
But he had to beat that field if he's going to be a bona fide chance, and even if he goes forward to the New Zealand Cup, which he's found his way to the Methven Cup. We'll look at that in a moment. Here's the Victoria Cup. What a race this is. Colt 31 from Barrier 1. Cash and Flow, you've just seen him win the smoke.
Have they changed his name yet? Colt 31?
Destroyed? No.
They were trying to, weren't they?
Don't think so. No, well, it's there now. It's Colt 31 at the moment anyway. Now, has he got the speed to hold up from Cash and Flow? Buster Brady drawn out a wee bit further to San Carlo and Rapper's Delight. Bling It On, return to the racetrack. First up was awesome. Follows Colt 31. His chances may well be determined inside the first 200 metres. If he sits in the trail, he can absolutely win this race. Shadow Sack's a very good horse. Cruise Bromac, we know, the winner of the free-for-all. And Alta Orlando, outside second row, is doing a great job over there, still in the same ownership as when he raced here in the back end of his career as well. That's a deep race.
I don't have a lot of friends, Grego.
Yes.
But the odd one that I do have in Australia is telling me, bling it on, bling it on, bling it on. That's all I hear.
Well, he's been the big shorter from the opening markets that they had over there, because the theory is that he'll sit in the trail. If he does, he'll be pretty awesome in that race, I think, certainly over the latter part of the race. What about the Methven Cup? It's Brown Pub Punter of the Year there as well. You can get in touch with the club if you want to get involved in that. He's normally there, the big fish, so I haven't spoken to him about that, but you're likely to see him down there, a large aquatic friend. Here's the market for it. So the fixes, $2.80. Now that's a risk off 30 metres. The small field will help him, but he's definitely the best horse in the race. Grand Chico, very good on Friday night at Addington, but should have been against that class of horse. $6.50 for him. and Ashley Locas at $3.60. Hale Christian, Ricky May will take the reins on Sunday for Paul Court. He's coming back from that off night he had at Addington Raceway where they found him to be a pretty crook horse. So what he does on Sunday again may well dictate the pathway through to the Cup for him.
Gee, I'm looking forward to that.
Should be a good
the
race.
Fixer, if he gets away with them, it's going to be an intriguing go. And as you say, we're going to know in terms of if we want to have a bet into that New Zealand Cup market where we're at with the Fixer. But I think first up on the grass, we know that he's had a few little niggles along the way, so the grass will obviously help him. But look, come the second Tuesday of November, you could be onto one there.
This afternoon, the sustaining payments were due for the New Zealand Cup, so that might see a few people drop out as well when you want them to pay a little bit more money to go forward. We'll just see how that unfolds with Addington. Short break for us, and when we come back, into Dominion chat with Regan Cotter from the Auckland Trotting Club. Welcome back into your box seat, brought to you in association with Woodland Stud. Of course, we've just found out the nominations have well and truly closed for the IRT Inter Dominion Series. Yes, it's back in New Zealand, and Regan Cotter from the Auckland Trotting Club has joined us. Thanks so much for your time, Regan. Evening to you. You'll be looking forward to this series as much as we are, I'm sure.
No worries at all, Greg, and thank you very much for having me here. You know, I think you can definitely see from the noms that we've had so far, I think it was about 55, 56 for the paces, I think of which about 16 or 17 in the top 36 have made the top 36, and then I think we had about 66 trotters. I think we had 9 Aussie noms. I think 6 have made the top 24, so it is all looking pretty good. And like I was speaking to Andrew Morris at HRNZ the other day, and he said that it's the most Australian nominees for a New Zealand series. So I think we do have to all be a little bit excited about that fact. So
Yeah, look, it's the first time we've had you on the show. You've been in at the Auckland Trotting Club for nearly 4 years now, and a wee while in the racing manager's job. How are you enjoying it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a challenge. I think I started about 4 years ago under Kevin Smith. I had about 18 months with him, and so I had a
pretty good grounding.
Pretty good grounding, as you can imagine. And I think it'll be 3 years in January when I would have been the manager. So no, it's been good. Well, I've tried to put my own sort of little flair on it. I guess, and but I think people just enjoy having someone to just who they can chat to, and who they can have an everyday conversation with. But I think in the beginning, there was a little bit of maybe kickback. What was my own background in racing? But I think over time people have seen that. And
they've warmed to you. Yeah.
Kev must have known a fair bit, because it's sort of coming through again now. So
good to see young people coming through in those roles, Matthew. That's for sure.
What has to go under the bridge between now and into Dominion time? What are some of the most important things that you need to tick off?
Yeah, I think people, and even all of us in the office actually probably tended to sort of not actually realise that we had the 40 meetings that we've got for the season, plus the Interdom. So there is a lot of work, but we have been in this process probably since January, February. So all the stages are slowly ticking themselves off, and I think this was like the first time that the racing side of it would actually, could actually take the headlines.
The centre stage,
as you might put it, and I think we've really kicked it off really well so far.
Last time we had an Inter Dominion series here in New Zealand, it was at Addington, but got transferred to Alexandra Park, and we saw a couple of outstanding performances. I Can Do's it, and of course this. Now, Smokin' Up won this race, but On the Mighty Quinn got promoted subsequently a couple of months later, but it was an awesome series. That's Black's a Fake in third position, and Mr. Feelgood there as well. So you can see the people on course. They love an Inter Dominion series, and it was a great one and enjoyed by all. So that was 2011. So that's a few years ago now. And the other winner was I Can Do's It, of course, for the Breckons and Mark Purdon. That's let me through in front. He was the favourite for the final. Getting to the outside there, I Can Do's It, Regan, and he stretched out like the very good horse that he was, and he won over $1 million, as we know, and the horse they called Lucky did the business on this occasion. And again, a big roar from the crowd, and just a tremendous occasion. That was Stylish Monarch dashing through on the inside, getting into third as well. So a couple of great finals they were, and will we be seeing Mark Purdon doing that again, saluting at Alexandra Park and into Dominion? There's probably every chance. So nomination-wise, we'll have a look at those now, Regan, to see, as you mentioned, the number of Australians, particularly in the top 30 in the pacing ranks. We have 55 nominations, but 13 of the top 30 are from Australia. So with an eye to the Victoria Cup and those types of races, and then the horses coming to the New Zealand Cup, potentially seeing Carlo, Buster Brady, we want to see them perform because we need that Trans-Tasman rivalry, don't we?
Yeah, and I think that's what we are really going to be pushing, is that Aussie-New Zealand rivalry, as you would put it, yeah. And so, I think, as you can see in the rankings, there's always people that will disagree and agree, but I think first up, this is it's a pretty accurate sort of view of where we are at.
Who's on the panel who decides that? How does it work?
It's Andrew Morris, Kevin Smith, and myself,
Yep.
but we're also there all, and the ultimate decision does land in the hands of the of HRNZ.
Yep.
But there's also obviously is a consulting, with Australia and the handicappers over there in each state. So yeah, I think sort of, I haven't yet met anyone who has said that they don't agree with them. So far, I'm going to take that
as a positive.
As a positive, and then on the so next Wednesday on the 16th, there will be a second set of rankings, which obviously would take into account any performance over the weekend and obviously last weekend as well. Then on the 29th of October is when the first acceptance fee is due. And so I think that will really give us a better view of who is going to be coming and, on obviously who might not be. And obviously with 66 trotters and 55 pacers, there are 3 heats of pacing heats set down and 2 trotting. A lot of people have been asking me, what
could that change?
Could that change? The overall series conditions do allow that. Obviously, there's quite a process, and anything has to have the Inter-Dominion Council approval. But yeah, it'll really just come down to what is the best makeup for the overall series.
Yep.
Because obviously there's like 2 sets of group. There's the people that are really into the racing and they're really into the series, and so that is what we want to be creating from the rankings, and even all the chat about which will, if there'll be 3 trotting and 2 pace, whatever.
Yep.
And then you have the other side of the people, and that's where the actual event lies itself. So we do want full fields. We don't want 3 heats of 8 paces as such, And I think for us, which we're really lucky, is that it's the Christmas at the races.
Yeah.
So on any given night, we could have 2,000 or 3,000 people there, combined with the actual series, and they've got the Potter's Paddock going on in the middle, and they've got a whole lot of other things going on. So I think that there's going to be a lot of people, and if we can just really make this the event that we all want it to be, then I really think that it's going to do a lot for not only Alex Park, but also for racing and harness racing around the country. Yeah.
Definitely. A quick look at the Trotters nominations. You mentioned the 66 that we have. Sunday Sun heads that up in terms of the rankings, but Big Jack Hammer, McLovin, Lily Stride, Mary Law, they're all Australians. We want them all to come, and BB Inter, who we'll have a look at very shortly, winning the Banks Peninsula Cup. And there's a fair bit to unfold there. Like Oscar Bonavina, he currently sits 36th, but he's obviously now made the Dominion, and he's the sort of horse you definitely want to have in the series. but when you've got that number, that's enormous to have that 66 for that. Let's have a look at the process between now and when the series does get underway, which you'll be doing the fields. I think the last week in November is when we bang those out and the series is underway.
Yes, I mean, obviously there's still the second and third rankings. There's the acceptance fee to be paid.
So at this stage, Regan, there's been no payments made.
No payments.
You just nominate. Yep.
Just nominate. And I think obviously the having known nomination fee obviously helped. And we tried to really promote it as you have to be in to win. Like you weren't sure who was going to be there, who wasn't. As you can see, Tiger Tara, with all that's gone on with him, wasn't there. So it really shows when there's not some one sort of dominant horse. You actually get people that are sort of they're chancing their arm, and I guess at the end of the day that's what the racing is all about. So it's been really good to see people from not just in the North Island, but all over the country, and obviously further wide into Australia, wanting to be part of the series, or at least nominating and then being in there. So I guess the first date for us that's really going to probably tell us how the rest of the series is going to go is on the 29th of October, because obviously that's when the first payment is due. For anyone that is looking for information on how to make that payment, we will make sure that everyone involved in the series obviously gets that information in time. So. Yeah, and then between then, I guess it's obviously it's still working towards the event, obviously still going with the racing that we've got, making sure that we have lead-up races, for these horses.
Starting with this week, you've got the Kerry Hoggard, the Holmes DG, which has drawn a deep field as well, and great to see it under handicapping conditions, as was the case with the Spring Cup, and therefore numerically you've got great numbers. And I did note Star Galleria getting home very nicely in that Spring Cup, so if he's on a New Zealand Cup path, then that's a great thing to have him not only going around at the park, but looking to get back to his best form.
Oh, and it's been good to be able to put these races on and obviously have the support to be able to actually get them off the ground. We're obviously
Here's the Spring
always
Cup.
going to do what we could to get them off the ground, but I think as we were talking about earlier, just having them as handicaps with the max back mark. We do have such a small pool in that sort of rating, 70 and above grade, in the North Island. So it's about being competitive. So I think that's what it's done, and it's made these races get 13 and 14 horses. I think we had 14 for the Spring Cup, and we've got 11 for this week. So and obviously, they both carry a 30k stake. So they don't have a group status currently, but if we are able to keep these numbers going through, that is obviously something that we can look to in the future, and obviously that then only builds on that pool of horses, and every year now there's better path between being able to actually race in Auckland and then make your way to obviously the New Zealand Cup or to Australia or whatever, whereas obviously previously it's been up in the air and they end up down south, and
It's a good thing, isn't it, Matthew?
I can tell he loves it.
Yeah, he does.
I think we're in good hands, eh?
Yeah, certainly.
We're definitely in good
passion's
hands.
Definitely there.
Yeah.
And Star Galleria is rated or ranked 12th at the moment for the Inter-Dominion Series. Before we let you go, obviously Le Mans goes round as well, which is a trotter that we're looking forward to seeing at the park once again, although beaten last time. You've had quite a few mile nights. Now, they seem to be filling up fields-wise, and was part of the mythology behind that, the fact that these horses can back up a lot more often, and you wouldn't be running them if they weren't profitable, surely.
No, and that is I guess
the philosophy.
And so we tried one, and I think our turnover was around about 850 for the night, which for us at that time, and obviously at the current time, it really was a great result. So then we were like, well, from August through to October, I think we had 7 meetings, and that we were going to trial having 4 of them. and then obviously at the end of it, do a bit of reassess and see how they're going. All I can say currently is that it's all looking quite positive. I remember, like, when you look at the turnover figures from the previous year and you actually compare them, you can have 10, 15 less horses, and we're actually 100, 150, 200k up. So what it's saying to us is that that is what the product that it is actually creating and allowing for is bringing people back to the track. We've actually had some issues with spacing in
which
some
is a great
of
thing.
the public rooms recently. Yeah, so yeah, it is great. And then I think it also brings people back to betting on Alex Park on a Friday night, you know. And so every week now, whether or not we have the mile racing, or it might even be a Monty race at 10:30 on a Friday night, but people are back and there's something different. And it's also interesting when you actually look at all the betting figures, how when they have the TAB have like the money back special. I think we had a junior drivers race that was race 1 at about 5:45 last week, and it was the highest turnover race on the night. So it actually shows when you incentivise people and you can have good fields, it's all looking good. So.
All right, we really appreciate you coming in tonight. All the very best in the build-up towards the Inter-Dominions. It was nice to have you part of the show, and I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
Thank you very much, mate.
All right, beautiful. That's Regan Cotter, and he's from the Auckland Trotting Club. As we go to a short break, here's a man who's trained his first winner. He drove a lot as a junior driver. National champion he was. Stevie Golding did it at Addington Raceway. Well, congratulations, Stevie. You've had a lot of success in the junior drivers' ranks, including winning a national title. But to train your first winner at Addington, pretty special.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, Greg, really, and especially at Addington as well. You know, we took the horse down south and that, but it's good to be on the back doorstep, and yeah, she made me pretty proud tonight. So.
Right. How did you go driving instructions with your fiancée, of course, Sam Motley, doing the steering, because she wasn't handing up to anyone tonight?
No, I just let her do her own thing, mate. She's out there all the time, and so that's that. You know, I don't have to tell her anything, and I'm not one to sort of anything happens for a reason. So yeah, she done a good job. She drove her really good.
Right. You've got the training big team of.
One.
And that's her, and she got your win. You've only had the 5 starters, so is this something you're going to develop, or you're happy enough just pottering around with 1 or 2?
Yeah, I'll just pottering around with 1 or 2, Greg. Obviously, real estate's number 1. But it's just good to be still in the game. I get a lot of clients through real estate, and you know, so you got to put a bit back in, and I'll continue to do so. But yeah, it's a good hobby to have. Pretty lucky with Denise at home as well, that when I'm playing golf every now and then, she feeds them and obviously works them when I can't. So yeah, big thanks to her and Sam that pick up the slack from me, bean slack.
All right. There's some pretty illustrious owners in this, including your brother, but also one Team McDonald. He's had a bit of success here at Addington.
Yeah, he's been great, Terry. Yeah, and it's good to train a winner for him, especially my first one. I used to drive a few for him back in the day and that, so he asked if I'd have a crack with her, and it's paid off, and nothing's ever been a problem. And so he just said to me before I'll get another one too, so hopefully he can pull one out of his ones to give me, so it's good.
All right. Great start to your training career, mate. Congratulations, and many more winners.
Yep, hopefully. Thank you. Cheers, Greg.
Welcome back into your box seat. Time for us to have a look at the Square Gators, and we go to the most anticipated race for me anyway on Friday night. Here's Mark Cooler outside Sunday Sun, who's just been in sublime form. 27 second quarter from the 8 to the 400, and he just gets a bit runny in behind Sunday Sun. That's his stablemate Woodstone to the inside. Mark Cooler fresh up. Awesome here, Matthew, and Oscar Bonavina sublime.
I couldn't help but get caught in the excitement of this. Wow. Oscar Bonavina and Mark Cooler. Mark Cooler, firstly, great to see him back in form, and he's only going to improve. Oscar Bonavina, you just shouldn't be able to do that. What did he cost himself? 30? 20 at least?
Well, his advantage of being off the front was clearly negated. In saying that, they only went 3:21, okay? So that was his winning time, being off the front. But here he is at the start, and Mark, he just started prancing there, and he's on the back foot, and he just didn't want to take a trotting step. Once he got him back down, he's very fluent, isn't he? He's a beautiful trotter, but it was up until that point. Mark Kohler, Sunday's Sun, and Portley had gone past, and Woodstone went around to the lead. And you knew when John Dunn led, you thought, well, the lead's going to be there for him. Monkey's Way made his way to the front. He'll actually be very competitive at Addington on Thursday night, Monkey's Way, taking over from Did You Bring the Beers? And he's, 35 metres off the lead there?
Easy.
Yep, maybe 40 metres. That was John Dunn.
Did everything he could. I think Sunday's Sun's a better horse, as I said on Friday night, where they're running more even rather than him having to just sprint a half. He gets to get into his rhythm. Mark Kohler looked bold.
Yeah, Cherie Tomlinson first steer driving him. That left Oscar out 3 wide, and that's the most impressive part of the race for me. He's 3 wide on his own in a 27-second quarter after giving them all a start, and he was still able to win. Also significantly, Matthew, he was 41st in the order of entry for the Dominion. Whoosh, bang,
goes straight
in there. Automatic entry race.
Now, he's only 4, Oscar Bonavina. Now, what I'd say about these trotters is that he's going to be better in 2 years' time. Like, he's only 4. He might not even be exactly 4 yet. So I'm sure that Mark Purdon will have that in the back of his mind. He's taking on some pretty solid, well-schooled, tough trotters that have been to war a few times. So I don't think that the battle is over just yet. I think Oscar Bonavina, Sunday's Sun, Mark Kohler throw in a couple of the North Islanders as well. I'm really excited about the Dominion. Yep. Maybe more so the Dominion than the Cup at this stage.
Let's hear from co-trainer Natalie Rasmussen and also Clint Ford, who of course part owns Mark Kohler. Well, the result panned out all right, but the start didn't.
No, Mark just said he got a bit angry on that pole, said he might have to get rid of that off him. And he's still learning too, at this level. So, hopefully, usually he is quite settled and good, but he was just really quite grumpy tonight.
Natalie, that was a phenomenal performance. The quarter from the 8 to the 4 in around 27 seconds. You can't sit 3 wide against open class horses normally after giving them a start and doing that.
No, I think he's just a very, very good horse, Greg. When Mark come back in then, he said he's a very special horse. So, fingers crossed all going well with him and he stays nice and sound and well. He should really go all the way to the top.
There's a bloke sitting on a couch up in Auckland that enjoyed that experience as well, Roy. Wonderful at his stage of life to have a horse with this potential.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. I have no doubts at all that Roy nearly would have jumped off the seat in that finish. Yes, it's just wonderful for him. Gives him a great interest.
Well, Clint, you're going to be wrapped with that.
Yeah, he went pretty good, Greg. He's been training up good, but you just don't know what's going to happen first up, and yeah, he's proved to us that he's come back.
We did note something significant though. You weren't sitting in the bike. You've given Cherie a chance.
Yeah, I said to your mate Mick the other day on his way to China. He rang me up and I said to him, "Well, Mick, the pants aren't fitting as quite as good this year." So, no, Cherie's she's been itching to get out there behind him, I think, and I've been following him around for 5 years. So she can have a go. She can have a crack.
Next go for him, we'll spot him at Ashburton in the Flying Mile.
Yeah, hopefully. Yep, should be a good go, shouldn't it?
I think he's underestimating how good a job he's done with the horse. He's honing it on $500,000, Clint.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah.
I just looked $460,000 at Clint Southern. He's sitting there half giving himself a bagging. Just lighten up on yourself a little bit, Clint. But Cherie will do a good job on this horse. That's one thing about her, that when she goes to the races, she gives horses confidence. And not that Mark Kohler needs confidence, but in those big races, if she's got a cool head, he's got a cool head, then they're every chance of making it 2 Dominions each.
He did say to me he'd love to see it get the trail behind potentially an Oscar or Sunday's Sun in the Flying Mile, because he'd love to see his horse.
Well, remember what he did in the Dominion last year, and then he went to Australia, and the dust got him, didn't it? The dust got in his lungs, and he was just
I've got a theory on him, mate. I reckon he's a better horse this side of Christmas.
If you take that clump out, if you take Christmas to, when was it, April? If you take that out, you're probably looking at it going, well, hang on a minute. You're talking about Sunday's Sun and Oscar Bonavina being that good.
Yeah.
What about Pro Mark Kohler over here? He's right up there.
He is.
He's right up there.
While we were away, and with the awards last week, there was, of course, the DG Jones Memorial Trot, which is always a pretty sought-after event. And the bloke who won it again as a trainer, Paul Nens, got a great record in it. Habib Ivy, Call You Later's won it a couple of times, and Call Me Now as well. I was disappointed in his run behind Sunday's Sun at Addington. That was in the ordeal, but he's bounced back with this performance. And, yeah, that was very good. That's Valoria in second and Destiny Jones defending her title.
I talked to Greg Hope after this race about Enheim. Now, he was a special shoe in behind, and he said that it was just getting caught up a little bit in the grass track and not to be worried. Oh,
He's
I
in
don't
this
know.
week.
He
gets his chance.
When do we start worrying about Enhine and Monbay?
Yeah.
At what point? Greg Hope's not a worried man. I can give you the tip on that. He's not worried.
Yeah.
When do we start worrying? Because the best
I'm
version of
worried.
those two horses, if they turned up, then we're talking about the top three. This horse here, Habibi Inter. Imagine if we had Monbay and Enhine at their best. Phew.
Yeah, we need them, and we hope they do get back to their best. He's won a couple of $100,000. Incidentally, news through from Addington Raceway, Massive Metro has been withdrawn from the Air Park Canterbury Dominion, so there's not all things right there with the National Trot winner. Addington Raceway also hosted the second heat of the Sire Stakes. This was the first heat on the Thursday night, and this very smart horse, Copy That, in the hands of Zachary Butcher for Ray Green, was successful, owned by Megan Merv Butterworth. I think it's about start 3 for them, and in a very good time here, Matthew, 156.1 mile rate.
The horse on the outside lineup would be one of the most beautiful going horses that I've ever seen. He is just a stunning moving horse. Now, I know he's been beaten in this race, but you turn the tables in terms of where they were in the run.
And that was Mighty Louis in third position for Robert Dunn. Not a bad horse
I
either.
think that, lineup, I know that they think he's pretty good. He's a beautiful horse to watch. And look, come Sire Stakes time, if he's going to Addington, he could be the horse to upset the All-Stars.
Yep, it's an exciting time. He was the second heat. Above and Beyond showed us plenty at 2, and for once he got a beautiful run on the outside and was able to launch out after them. And we'll hear from driver John Dunn post-race.
Him up in 2 strides. Skippy's Delight up the inside. It's Above and Beyond and Skippy's Delight the 2. Late Virgil from Aqua Sancta, but it's off and gone. Above and Beyond too good. Beats home Skippy's Delight, third in Aqua Sancta, then Virgil, followed in by Tyrant's Bit of Lemon.
Well, you've always had a high opinion of him. You said at 2, everything would be a bonus, and that's come to the fore now.
Yeah, that's right. Like, he didn't do too bad of a job at 2, actually. Like, he matched it with the big guns, and he's come back stronger this time. And he gets a wee bit worked up, but he hit the line well, so we'll let him get worked up.
Yeah, look, it was nice for him tonight to get an economical trip during the running too, because often he's had to make his own luck.
Yeah, that's dead right. Come from the back, so like when you race those really good ones, you sort of got to teach your horse to do that. So hopefully the races pan out that I can do that.
Yeah, well, he's in the Sire Stakes final now. I suppose you have to go around in another heat because there's not too many other options.
No, that's right. I was thinking that afterwards. So up in the grades now, so we'll go to probably the last Sire Stakes heat.
So that was a good performance, just win number 2 in his career, but he's in the big dance, as is Skippy's Delight. That's a real bonus for Brendan Hill. Speaking of him, they've rated 157, by the way. We've got news about a new training partnership, and I got the opportunity to catch up with Brendan on Friday night to get his take on it. Brendan, you've always been one to think outside the square, and a union with Mark Jones is certainly something a bit different.
Yes, it is. It's probably going to shock a few people. I've been thinking, that it's tough out there. It's a tough industry, and I think, it's a numbers game, and I think to do that properly, I think you've got to go into partnership, in my opinion anyway.
What it will do is give you real strike power, or backing if you like, going towards the yearling sales. Is that part of the drive? Because without replenishing your stocks with quality horses, it's getting harder and harder.
It is getting harder and harder, and it's a numbers game, and I think putting our numbers together, and we can travel basically anywhere with him and I running the show with a good team around us, obviously, and we both seem to be on the same page. We've got a lot more talking to do, and we've done a lot already and lots of meetings, but yeah, it's quite exciting actually. I said, we as trainers we take 10%, but I think 5% of something's better than 10% of nothing. So and he agrees, and we're both pretty serious about it, and really looking forward to it.
What do you bring to the partnership?
Well, I've trained a few winners like he has. I think we're similar type of trainers. I've been lucky enough to have the good horses and travel to Australia, which he's probably done too, So, yeah, I'm older now and I'm more experienced and probably settled, and really looking to take this on board. I'm 45, I've sort of been around the horses for a while now, and I'm always learning, but I don't want to get to 50 and wish I had done it. I want to do it and have a crack, and I think he's the same.
Have we got a start date?
November the 1st is what people are telling us, the ones that we are talking to, so we'll just see on that one.
All right, and obviously there's a few changes colours-wise and a few things to be ironed out, but it is a very exciting time.
Yeah, I've got some colours to show you and see what you think, and we've come up with that. We're both pretty happy with them at the moment, but there's a few things like that to iron out. We've got the truck, his truck obviously will go into the business, and we've got our floats and everything and all the gear obviously. It's just, putting it all together, and communication's going to be a great thing.
at this stage you'll keep both properties and they'll operate as separate entities in that regard, but obviously there'll be potentially young horses done at one place and the race horses at others, and a bit of mixing and mingling in that regard too.
Yeah, I don't think a lot will happen straight away, but it definitely will happen. I think what you said, the young ones, and Mark's chucked a few things around there which I like too, so in the perfect world maybe one big property training 60 horses would be probably ideal, but I think with two properties and, like I see, communication, we can make things work that, if a horse is a bit sour at my place and can go there and vice versa, I'd like to think we can make that work to a positive, not a negative.
So that was Brendan Hill, half of the elite racing team. The other is Mark Jones, and he's joined us on the phone. Thanks so much for your time, Mark. An interesting concept. Just tell me how this came about, and initially, whose idea was it?
Yeah, it's probably just two brains coming together, Greg. We spoke about it a few years ago, and kind of just a month or two ago we just approached each other and thought it was a good idea, and a lot of work went into it, and we just come out with this end result, and I think it's a pretty positive move for both parties.
All right, we're going to see a new set of colours, predominantly black with the white star in the middle and then the turquoise on the sleeve. I like the look of those, and we'll show those properly on the show in the next couple of weeks. You've trained about 500 winners, Brendan 200, many of them at the elite level with the likes of Monkey King, Carabella, Bailey's Dream, all of those. So collectively, there's some pretty powerful racing minds there.
Yeah, definitely. We probably both want to compete at the top level, and that's why coming together we hopefully, two barns have got more chance of getting the better horses and two brains. So that's the idea behind it, and we've both had experience at Group 1 level, and it's good to bounce ideas off each other. So it's definitely a positive move, and probably one that the owners will benefit from. And
the biggest drive I can hear from both of you is around the yearling sales, because you've got to have that buying power, don't you?
Yeah, it's a proven. You look at the Perd and Rasmussen team, and you got to buy the top quality at the yearling sales to compete at the top level. And we can put our owners and resources together and get a powerful bunch of horses behind us, like the galloping moulds do. I think we can only go forward.
Mark, you've got Sam obviously working for you out at Burnham. Ricky May does a lot of driving for Brendan, and he's got Corbin Newman who's doing a good job for him doing the junior driving. What do you sort of see happening drivers-wise with this new setup?
Yeah, probably not a lot will change to start with. Ricky will probably drive, Benny's arm of the team, and Sam will probably still stick to my ones, and, they can swap and change if I've got better drives or, with travelling and that. And, Corbin's a great asset in the junior drivers. He's shown he's probably as good as anybody around. So I don't think a lot will change in that department. And, as you've seen in the past, I've used Ricky May a lot too. So it's a positive for both barns. What
about using yourself? Is there any chance of you making a bit of a comeback?
It's definitely one thing that Benny's pushing me for, and it probably will happen. We want to get the setup organised and the workload's kind of sorted, and I can free myself up. I probably will look at coming back driving, and it's probably we drive a lot of the trials to see where they're at and down the track with Benny's support, and that's probably one thing you might see me out there a bit more. All right, really appreciate your time, Mark. We understand 1 November will be the start date. Yeah, that's the aim at this stage, so we'll just get all the boxes ticked, and hopefully you'll see the new colours rolled out then. All right, thanks so much, Mark, and all the very best in the new venture. Yeah, thanks very much, Greg. So that was Mark Jones there talking about this new concept, and I can only see it as being a positive. Well, Mark's obviously always taken great aplomb in educating his horses. He's been a seller. His horses go to the races with impeccable manners. Brendan, on the other hand, has taken his horses to the races to race probably a little bit more than Mark has. So I think the two heads together, one incredibly brilliant driver in Mark, and Brendan, who's trained New Zealand Cup winners as well. Look, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to seeing the new colours too. Yeah, something that I'm sure we'll be able to show in the next couple of weeks before they hit the racetrack. Addington Raceway keep coming up with new ideas. Of course, they've got the Mega Series, which is a great concept, and they've also, with Air Park Canterbury, come up with a new owners incentive. Here's Brian Thompson, the CEO. Brian, you're always trying to think of new ideas to get people to come back to Addington Raceway, and this new owners initiative with Air Park Canterbury is certainly one of those.
Yeah, we've tried to always look after our owners as one of our customers. We've done a few things throughout the year with the owners' nights, a couple of initiatives around IRT harness jewels to look after them, and especially around Cup and Show Week. But we just want to do something a bit more permanent. So we had a chat to Graham Harris from Air Park Canterbury, who's a good supporter of Addington. He, being an owner himself, was keen to assist. So what we've done is any owner that starts a horse from now on at Addington, they qualify for for Air Park Canterbury and Addington's owners pass. So that gives them entitlement to the IRT stables entrance. It also gives them a drink on course in any of our public areas, and also gives them a guest card as well, so that guest can get into the stables as well.
The only thing that doesn't apply for is New Zealand Cup Day, and that makes logical sense.
Oh yeah, due to the logistics of Cup Day, you know, it goes without saying. But hey, support every other night, and you don't even have to have a horse racing on that night. So even if you don't, you just come in and we'll shout your drink.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful initiative. Let's talk about New Zealand Cup Week and how progress is going in terms of the sales.
Yeah, we've got about 39 days to go, so Cup Week's going really well. Lindau Lawns, good sales. General admission is great. Hospitality, we've got a couple of more tables left, so just contact Jo McMaster at Addington and she'll look after you.
All right, but in terms of where it normally is, you're about as happy as you could be.
Oh yeah, we're up on last year, which is great, at the same time last year, so we're all positive.
Yes, another great initiative there. News out this week about the new Fast 10 concept as well, which will be held at Addington Raceway. Here's the breakdown of it. Look, I think it's a good idea. They're looking to bang things out in about 2.5 hours. I'm not so convinced they'll do it in the time they've got, but hey, I'm all for innovation. What is most concerned there for me is the start time. It just doesn't make sense to me starting before lunchtime on what is effectively break-up day of Friday. I'm not sure whether the team from Quick Horse Racing Limited had much of an input into that, but that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
No, none whatsoever. The one thing that I think to negate your first problem is that you can allow for one extra 15-minute slot, simple. But yeah, I would have thought more of a 4 till 6 or a 5 till 8.
But it might work into that.
I'd be interested to see I'd be interested to see if there is any feedback as to why they've gone
at
that time rather than later. It is the last working day of the year. Most people, you get to 2 o'clock.
Yep.
If I was your boss, which I never will be, I'd be happy enough to say, Greg, 2 o'clock,
you're right,
you
about
may
that.
head away. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, I do. Good initiative, though, so let's see how it all unfolds. Here's the New Zealand Bloodstock $100,000 bonus. It's with the air freight part of their business, the Triple Crown. It's run at Addington Raceway on show day and then into the Premier Mares race and the Magnus Benroe race. It's about March at Alexandra Park. It's for horses that haven't won a Group 1 or a race in excess of $100,000. So, again, it's just another incentive to keep mares in the country and giving them a chance to race for a bonus. Woodlands Runners, I'm a Gigolo, continues on its winning way. Yeah, probably Thursday night, although it takes on a deep sort of a field. Yeah. Looking for 4 for 4. Wainui Creek, who is now with Barry Purdon in the north, so we look forward to seeing her at Alexandra Park, and Refine goes round at Methven as well. Best bet of the week, Matthew Cross.
Best bet of the week for me is race number 9, Fly Like a Falcon. 2 last start seconds, and I think he'll be winning. You're with Arden's Reality.
Yeah, I'm with Arden's Reality. Really good third first up. Wouldn't need to improve too much at all. That's been your box seat. Thanks so much for dropping in, Matthew.
Thanks for having me. The hashtag brand will be back next week.
Yep, he certainly will be. That's been your box seat for the week. We'll catch you in 7 days' time.